Shalom, 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 shalom. It is a pleasure and a very fruitful time to have occasion and being with you in this course of MI 405. And for last is really amazing. So coming back in this teaching, it's something that is a pleasure to all of us, students, professors, and WBSU administration. So I'm wishing you the blessing, and I'm welcoming you everyone to come on and be with us in this teaching session. And it's a pleasure also to see now teaching the doctorate students. For me, I am so happy with the opportunity of teaching the doctorate students. So, dear students, scholars, this is a very good lesson, and it is a very fruitful lesson, especially for the scholars of doctorate. When we say doctorate, a doctorate student or a doctorate candidate is someone who is ready to contribute much more on the issue that can impact on the society, especially for human being. So the scholars of doctorate of this lesson, MI 405, Ritual, Religious, and Myth. This is a course where we are going to deal with the rituals, Christian rituals, religions, and myths. These three perspectives are hand in hand on how we can see the interrelationship, how they are connected, how they are related, and what is the impactful on the society, especially for the Christian life. As long as we move forward with this week one, I welcome all the students to be proactive and to be very active, asking questions, digging, and researching. The doctorate students, they are required to research more because soon it is your time. We thank God on getting this doctorate level some years ago, and now we are contributing, as well as we are inviting you to come in this time and this world of researching so that you can make our world better than it is. So wherever you are on this planet, I welcome you and I wish you the success. So this course is focusing on exploring how rituals, feast, and fast reflect human longing for restored identity with Father God. Remember, at WBSU, we are dealing with Father God unconditional love. So, this unconditional love, it's the love that is not have any boundaries. So, the unconditional love is the love Jesus Christ has demonstrated when he came to this planet. So, he came to restore human life, to save our life. So this is the focus of this lesson and how these practices related to the concept of mistaken identity, how a man has mistaken it. So remember, you are the students of doctorate. So we are giving you the ritual, and the part of the rest you go to do a deep research. So in this week one, we are going to deal with introduction to ritual, religious, and mistaken identity. This is what we are going to tackling and working together. So the point number one, we are going to see the conceptual foundation and definitions. So in this lesson, we are going to deal with the different perspectives and the part of the world. I have tried to navigate around the world to see what is happening, basing on this course MI 405, and we have just tried to look at some perspectives on ritual and religions in Africa, how they are interrelated. So we have just tried out to see what is and what was happening in Asia and Latin America and the parts of the Western countries. So the combination of these findings will leave you the scenario that can empower you on how MI 405 can contribute to much more on your knowledge and your research. So coming on these conceptual foundations and definitions, ritual as embodied symbolic systems. Why it is a symbolic systems? When we see the definitions, ritual are multimodal performatives acts embedded in culture matrix that encoded express the transmitives symbolic meanings. So this one means how the ritual is a combination of human life. It's a combination of culture. The human life and the culture, the society and the culture matrix are related, and they can work hand in hand with the human being. So you don't say society and leave behind human activities. So in a researchable way, these are interrelated. They are sometimes they are linked. The activities of human being and society and the culture, they are interrelated. They engage sensorium, involve embodied cognition. So this also is dealing with the cognitive perspectives, and it deals with the mindset, sometimes sensorium, how the human culture are dealing with the ideas of the people, how the society is improved, how the religious life on a certain area of the planet, they are improving, how they have been evolved, and how they were civilized. So, and serve the regulated social order and cosmological alignment. This was said by Tuma in 1969. This is a scholar. Also, Soldas in 1990 has said also on this literature how they are interrelated. To say they are interrelated, it tackles on different parts of the world. But what they do, sometimes they are linked. And this was the definition. So there is an insight of neurological. This is done and dealt with the nerves, the sensory nerves. When it deals with the sensory nerves, the neuroscience studies is a scholar who is called Sergio, and other part of the team in 2013 revealed that ritual activities brain regions associated with rewards, pattern recognition, and affect regulations. This suggestion ritual are adaptive tools that consolidated belief through emotional reinforcement and body enactment. So this is the meaning of this. It's how the rituals are interrelated with emotional, body feeling, and how human body is acting in a societal perspectives. So this deals with nerves, deals with our nerves. Also, it touches on our brain. The brain deals with how people they are thinking, how they are, uh, how the way they are behaving. Sometimes they are dealing with the behavior of some people or the group. Uh, Also, we have social functionality, how the society is functioning, how the society is moving to one step from one step to another step. Uh, we were saying on promote group cohesion through shared symbolic vocabularies. This has been done. This Dutch person, Daken, in 1912 and 2001, he cited and he revised his work on how this cohesion through shared symbolic vocabularies. This means the MI01, sorry, MI 405 deals with the society, how the society is moving from one step to another step, how the society is civilized. It reinforces hierarchy of egalitarian norms, spending of ritual structure. The ritual sometimes they have structure, especially for the old people. The old people, how they are interrelated, how they are teaching the young people, and how young people are copying from the old people. And then this also it goes with the legacy of the old generation to young generation. So I got a very good term how the generation can copy from another generation. The advanced generation of the people, it can teach the youngest generation, like the generation of above 50 years already, and the generation of below 50 years already in a certain society, they can interrelate it, and the old generation can leave legacy to the young generation. So the limitation of serving, I was talking about this, how the generation can serve to another generation. So this can be dealing with the limitations. So what can be taught to the younger generation and what cannot be taught, does and don'ts. So we cannot say ritual generation and leave behind the cultural synopsis. So culture is something which is also uh, something tangible in teaching. So we can also bring some examples in Africa, especially in the great regions. You can take an example of Rwanda. Rwanda, there is a ritual and a culture of kubandwa and guterekera. This also, it was in Rwanda and especially in the parts of Uganda and yes, some parts of Tanzania, DRC, yeah, the Central Africa. This ritual is there, and then how Kubanwa was being done, and it was related with the traditional regions. So it was a ritual how in Africa this integrate healing, divination, and ancestors this relevance. So the ku bantu bandi guterekera, I took this as an example. The people who are living and have seen what was happening in ancient Rwanda and ancient Central Africa, they know this ritual. So how the people were caring too much, they passed away people on how they can treat those passed away people, like people who are living, on how they are treating the ancestors. So this is an example I took in Africa, especially in Central Africa. We have in Asia what is called Zenikans or Shinkantaza. This is a mediation represent disciplined detachment of self-emptying towards Satori. This was dealing with the enlightenment. In Latin America, there is something called curanderismo, healing, ritual, blend Catholic sense, invocation with indigenous cosmologies. So I took this, the people who are living in Latin America, especially in Colombia, in Peru, in Ecuador, they can know that parts. So curanderismo is like the one I was saying in Central Africa. It's a of healing, but in a divine way, the divine traditional divine way. So in Western countries, I took the Protestants revivalist ritual, like Atta calls how they are using Eucharisty, how they are using this Atta calls center on the pastoral salvation through emotive engagement. So each part of the world has its own ritual, but these rituals sometimes they are dealing with their cultures. So those are the culture. Sometimes they are going hand in hand. So this was on. We were saying on the issue of rituals as embodied symbolic system, how they are systematized and how they have some symbols. So each part of the world, each society, it has some symbolic scenarios they are adopting, and they are sometimes respecting too much. So B, it is myth and epistemological structure. Myths are not absurd stories, but are epistemic structure that provides ontological grounding, teleological direction. They are archetypal, transitional narrative that serves cognitive, ethical, and ritual functioning. This was said by Campbell in 1949. Eliade in 1963 also cited on this. So let us look at on how psychological functioning Jangia, this is called the Jangia. Myth externalized the collective unconscious using symbolic language to articulate deep structure, including archetypes like hero, shadow, and the divine parents. The scholar whose name is Zhang in 1969, he was saying about on this scientific function. We can say this, but we cannot leave the science, how the scientific function is also dealing with this. We have modern cognitive sciences sees myth as narrative schema that optimizing memory, and decision making in an uncertain environment. This was said by Boiler in 2021. Barrett in 2024 also, he was says that these are narrative schema that optimize the memory of and decision making. So this it is bringing the scenario of how you can remembering something that happened and do the prediction of what will be happening. So this was on myth as epistemological structure on scientific function and psychological functioning. So we can also deal with the culture interpretations on how in Africa some interpretations are coming with these rituals. In Africa, we can take an example of South Africa, where Zulu, they have what is called Onkuru creation myth, portray a god who emerged from the leads, highlighting relational ontology. This is an example that I took in South Africa or in a certain group of people that is called the Zulu. In Asia, we can also take an example of Japanese people on Kojiki myths and plain Shinto purity concept affecting rituals of national and imperial identity. This is a part of Asia. Then in Latin America, we can have the Miani Popol, which is a sacred text linking myth, astronomy, sacred kingship, how the kingdom, this Mayani Popol Vush is a sacred text linking myths, astronomy. Astronomy is the science that is deal with the things in the sky. So, and the sacred kingship. We have Western on the Western culture, how they are dealing with the Bible, biblical creation narratives, reframe myth categories within monotheist revelation, and so on and so forth, plus moral and responsibilities. So I was taking the culture of some of the world, and as students, you have to know this is a part of researching, so you can even research more than me. What I'm giving you is just opening your minds to know what is happening in one part of the world and another part of the world, whether on the culture perspective, or whether on the psychosocial, whether it's it can even tackle the myths, it can even tackle psychological functioning, the culture synopsis, it can even talking on neurological insight, social functionality. Yeah, it can tackle on a lot of perspectives. So I was taking this how the South Africa they have Onkurunkuru, how the Asian people, the Japanese they have Kojiki, how the American, Latin America they have Mayani Popor Vush, and the Western, how the Western part of the world, I mean the Western countries, they are using the Bible narrative citations. So religion, traditions, and civilizational matrix, how the religious traditions and as civilizational matrix, how these are interrelated and how they are working hand in hand with scientific definition. Religion, tradition are living epistemic communities that house cognitive model, ethical imperatives, linguistic codes, and ritual grammars. They are dynamics evolving system shaped by historical contingence and transculture interaction. This also said by Smart in 1998, Assad in 1983, he was cited on this. So system theory, religion functioning as a complex adaptive system that process environmental, social, and metaphysics data to maintain existential equilibrium. So we can also say on the political dimensions how religion are also ideological appartenance, although capable of legitimating political authority. Resisting colonization of shaping revolutionary consciousness. So, some parts of the world have been colonized, and sometimes their culture and rituals were looted by the colonizers. This happened in Africa. It happened in some parts of Asia. It happened in Latin America. So, where the autochthone or indigenous people, they have left behind their traditions and culture. So you are excusing me. I see the power is going off, and now there is a little darkness, but this cannot hinder our lecturing session. So in Africa, we can emphasize on sacred ecology, oral transmission, and functionality pluralism. So in Africa, there was narrative stories on how the old people, they are leaving their legacy to young people by oral citation, oral citations. And in Asia, we have Buddhism or Hinduism focuses on transpersonal states suffering like dukkha, like karmic. These are an example, casual, I said, on how this were civilized. So in Africa, sometimes they emphasized on ecology, oral transmission, or leave behind, and then they bring the kind of writing on papers, even though there were some people who were used to write, like Egyptian civilization and Carthage civilizations. Those were the society that have been civilized the area. So we can also have liberation Christianity in Latin America, how they fuses gospel ethics and martics critics in the right of systematic poverty. We have Western Christianity evolves forms of medieval scholasticism into modern evangelism and post-secular pluralism. That was the part one, part one. Then second point on how the universal quest for the divine as theological, anthropological analysis. It is dealing with the philosophical anthropology. The human being is a religious animal. So, in anthropological ways, scientists are believing that there was a revolution of how humans have been evolved. So, as philosophical anthropological, we can say a human being is a religious animal, which is called Homo religiosus. Homo religiosus. This is a Latin word. Religious animal, which means Homo religiosus, whose drive for meaning, order, and transcendence is hardwired and manifest in all known civilization. So when it deals with all known civilization, some scholars have said about this, and also we have evolutionary psychology on how the cognitive of the people, we say cognitive byproduct theories, that was said by Atran, argue that belief in an essence agents, God is separate and evolved by hyperactive agents detection. So this is dealing with the evolution, how the human being has been evolved in terms of nature, in terms of mindset, and so on and so forth. So we have biblical affirmation. You can read Acts 17, 27, how they grope for him, implying universal spiritual hunger. Romans 2, verse 15, how law written on the hearts. So we can have, by moving forward, comparative manifestation. We have culture, African culture, Asian culture, Latin American culture, and Western culture. Mode of seeking, in African, they are saying mediation via ancestors. They are believing in ancestors. And the Asian people, they are believing in liberation from suffering. How the human being can transform to another thing. And Latin America, they are believing in solidarity and sacramento, whereas Western culture is relation of self-help mysticism. So to access, in Africa, they are believing in totem, symbolic, diviners, altar, and then in Asia, they are believing in yoga, mediation, mantras, and then in Latin America, they are believing in saints, rosaries, sacred dance. Then in the Western, they are believing in apologetics, psychotherapy, and mindfulness. So this we can compare and contrast this. Then on mistake identity and human fall, scientific and theological perspectives. In theological anthropology, we can say at the fall, Genesis 3, humanity ontological status shifted from sons of fugitive, misrecognizing God, how the human being has just left behind the issue of recognizing God. This led to alienation, shame, and self-justification. You know what was happening when Adam and Eve has sinned, and how they saw they are naked. So we can also say psychological trauma theory, the four narrative parallel trauma responses, fear, hiding projection. Modern trauma sciences shows that the science here shows that unsolved identity dissolution result in maladaptive coping mechanism, which religion often tries to address. So this was said by Van der Kolk in 2014. So culture misidentification, you can bring this culture misidentification. In Africa, we have say identity absorbed into the crown on separate, then ritual of the breathing evidence, naming taboo, fear sacrifice. Then in Asia, we have identified determined by karma or caste. We have ritual of purity laws hierarchy. And then in Latin America, we have identity ties to guilty penance. We can see the rituals of flagellation, perpetuate penance. Then in Western, we have self as God or void. New ritual in the Western part of the world, we have New Age individualizing or atheism. This also is another thing that you cannot leave behind when comparing these rituals. So Christ as theological of existential restorer, how Christ has restored the human being. Restorative theory, Jesus Christ represents the full theological anthropology, the new Adam. The new Adam, Colossians 1, the 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 14. In him, it says, in him we distorted image of realigning through the spirit of adoption. So we have the new Adam who was not sinning anymore, and this new Adam is Christ. Christ is restorative identity in not just for forensic or rego, but ontological and psychological, renewing mindset. Then this Jesus Christ is the restorative, is redemptor, has redempting us. And reforming neurological pathways through grace, hope, and faith. We are receiving grace and faith in him. Christ as culture collective. The Christ as the culture collective, we have Africans, you have Asia, Latin America, West. Then in Africa, he was saying that the ancestors' mediation, Christ is the high priest, the Christocentric concept parts. Christ is the high priest. In Asia, works-based grace through faith. And Latin America, regardism, penance, justification by faith, Western self-deification deals with cruciform identity. So, scripture, we have Hebrews chapter 7, verse 24 to 25. Concluding our session, we have scholar discussion prompts as students of the anthropological and psychological functioning of ritual across the least three cultures. 2. Evaluate the limitation of mythological thinking in addressing existential guilt and identity.